Hi everyone, it's Sanjeev here.
And I'm Neeraj. We're back again.
And we are doing our second episode of Two Guys with Mics. So we've made a slight title change after some feedback, but it's been a couple of weeks. We had a little bit of a hiatus there, but hopefully we're going to get back to doing this every week and give you kind of the current news that's happening and our take on it.
Yeah. Well, so you were just in Japan.
Yeah, I like to just chat about Japan. We were there for 2 weeks, and you kind of think of Japan as one of those places where it's like super techy, and it's which it is techy, but it wasn't. What was really struck me about Japan was that how much either everyone looks like they're character out of anime.
Really?
Like they're actually walking around
dressed up like that.
Yeah, they're walking around like they're schoolgirls with dyed hair, purple hair, or stuff like that. Like they look like anime characters, or they're just dressed with a white top and black pants.
Like very basic.
Yeah, like everyone's wearing white top and black pants.
I thought the demographics of Japan were like people were quite old on average.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with
like how old are these people dressed up as schoolgirls?
No, those are the young people. Okay. Those are the young people. But I'm saying almost everybody. We only saw like middle-aged people or younger people, because I don't know where the old people were. But everyone going to the office is wearing white shirt and black pants.
That's it.
That's like how it
That's
is.
the uniform.
Yeah, exactly. But I found it's very, very consumer-based culture. Like everything was about buying, and little small things. Like it was interesting. They had these machines, vending machines.
Japan's famous for vending machines.
Yeah, everything was a vending machine. Like you could buy water, and you could buy at every corner there'd be a vending machine where you could buy water.
Okay, but water's fine. But I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I'll say it here, but panties? I heard panties were sold in
I didn't see it, but I didn't see it, but I definitely think I wouldn't be surprised because I saw all types of stuff happening with vending machines, and I think this is I actually think it's kind of the future. I think what they're doing is how Canada's going to become.
One vision. But okay, so what was the weirdest thing you saw in a vending machine, or unexpected? Like water's.
I mean, I just think there was no difficulty in getting all types of drinks and so on. But what was interesting is it had those little what do you call those little things where like you open a box and another box opens up in another box, like little
like nested
trinkets.
Boxes.
Yeah. That was in a vending machine.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, definitely targeted at kids.
I don't know. I think I saw a lot of like older people. I think that's what I'm saying is that it seems like it's a very, in some ways, immature culture. Like everyone's kind of just like very focused on just buying these little trinkets, and I found it was weird in that way.
It is a fascinating culture, right? Like on the one hand, like you said, they're wearing white tops and black pants.
Yeah.
So very basic, very repressed.
Repressed for sure, I think it is.
But then on the other hand, they're kind of known to be a little bit, adventurous.
Yeah. Like when we're looking at people, what they're playing on their phone, they're just playing anime games, like on the subway.
So it's a massive part of their culture.
Yeah,
like it actually is.
It is huge. Yeah, huge. So, you couldn't really watch a movie in English or subtitles or anything there. It was,
really?
Everything was in Japanese, and yeah.
Yeah, so actually my cousin has lived in Japan for, I don't even know how long, like maybe 30, 40 years, and he still doesn't have citizenship.
Oh, wow. Do they allow him? Will they allow him?
Yeah, no, he's not allowed. Like, he's married to a Japanese woman. He has kids. He's lived, speaks fluent Japanese. I don't know. I've heard that there's talk about changing it, or maybe they have changed it because their population problem.
Yeah. But I think they have pressure.
They're very, well, actually, how did they greet you? Like, how were you received? Because I've heard they're fairly suspicious of foreigners.
I think they were fine. And maybe we were in the touristy area. There was no issues. Everyone seemed very friendly. Everything was fine in that case. I mean, they had a whole nightlife area that we couldn't really explore because we had our 2 kids with us. But definitely seemed interesting. I think that the way that they're interacting with technology could be harbinger of how things could be with us. That's what's kind of scary, because they seemed like it didn't have much. There was not much social interaction. Like people were not talking amongst each other. Oh, everyone was just going about their business.
Totally see that happening now.
Back to work, on their phone, There was no like, I didn't see anybody laughing or smiling.
Wow.
Like that's a little bit concerning.
Yeah, so do you think humans are just naturally, like, do we all have a little bit of social anxiety enough that given an escape, we just dive into our phones?
Yeah.
Or something like that? Like,
it's easier. It's the path of least resistance, I think. Like there's some, to go out and like say hi to a person, or like, it just takes extra effort.
Right.
And it's so much more comfortable.
Yeah, well, you and I have talked a lot about this off air, is about cheap dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a form of cheap dopamine, whereas earned dopamine is where it's a lot more effort, but that's where you really get the benefits of life.
Yeah, exactly. So that was Japan. That's why I took, a couple of weeks off. But, since I've been off, we can talk about politics for a few minutes.
Well, actually, before we move, I was thinking about China. I was just reading about, kind of almost the opposite of what you're talking about, all these people absorbed with their machines.
Yeah.
So China had, I think it was last year or something, they put in a rule about limiting screen time for little kids, but they want to expand that. And they want to basically extend screen time limits for all minors, so under 18. They're talking about no screen time between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. I think, under 4, they get like half an hour. Under, I forget the exact numbers. Under 8, it's like an hour, and under 18, it was like 2 hours a day. That's their limit. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I think I'm impressed. I'm actually impressed, and this is one of the advantages of having a system they do. But how would they actually police that? Like, have they talked about how they enforce this?
Yeah,
that's the scary part, because if it was me and I lived in, I'd be like figure out a way to like get around that. And I think so many of those kids would be figuring out a way to get around that.
I think maybe this is the good and bad part about China. I mean, I think you could have a software installed. Right. Everyone has a profile. That they have their social ranking system. So I'm sure that everyone has a profile. Your phone is connected. The government is probably monitoring everything you do on your phone.
Wow.
And I'm guessing the threat of punishment, you're just not going to do it.
You would need like a super AI system. You need like something super, like to be able to
I don't know,
manage all that
data. It shouldn't be that hard. Well, yeah, to do all the social currency stuff.
Yeah.
But I have a screen time on my phone, right? I have limits set, like, my own self-imposed limits. I can imagine the government doing that there.
Have you seen the episode on Black Mirror, by the way? This is like, it's called Nosedive. It's this one where this woman has this, she has this, they all have these social currency rankings.
Okay.
And it's like a whole story about what happens with, like, she's like trying to get somewhere and trying to increase her number, but what actually happens is pretty scary. But I could totally see it's called Nosedive, Black Mirror. I think it might be season 4.
Okay.
And it's not as like disturbing as some of the the other stuff out there, but I would highly recommend it. So. What was I saying? Yeah, but Trump. This basically.
Okay, let's get to Trump. We've got to talk about Trump.
We missed him for a couple of weeks. In the time since we last chatted, he's been indicted now 4 times. Yeah, 3 more times.
Pretty impressive.
Over 100 felony charges against him, and
I'm still feeling good about the bet.
You still?
He's not going to jail. I want him to go to jail, but I don't think he's going.
Yeah, what's really interesting though? So apart from Trump doing his usual stuff, there's a new guy in the block, and his name is Vivek Ramaswamy. So I was initially really excited about a brown guy, a Hindu by the way, who's gonna be part of this thing, and maybe he's gonna make a good name for us, give us all a good name. But this guy is fucking crazy.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner.
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
And maybe those exist too.
So just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy doesn't exist as a threat in America. What do you think goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear you say that white supremacy is basically a fantasy?
I'm sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims. Dana, this is a very sensitive situation where we should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly, most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening during the course of this campaign. Kara Swisher calling me Rama Smarmy the other day and reveling in making twists of my last name. People effectively reducing me to the color of my skin and my attributes. That comes today from the modern left. But the reality is,
do you
this is
acknowledge,
part of
though,
a
that
dogma
white
in this
supremacy
country.
does still exist in the United States?
I acknowledge that all forms of racial animus exist in the United States, including fringe branches. I mean, that's clearly what was at the head of this mentally deranged individual responsible for this shooting, yes. But I think there are many forms of mental derangement that cause us to see one another on the basis of our skin color and our attributes.
He's actually making us look really bad.
Apparently Eminem told him to stop rapping
I know.
his songs.
Well, give him credit because that's a hard song to rap. And
I'm
I've
like, wow,
tried
he actually
it.
did. I gotta find this video of him
Like
doing
Lose
it.
Yourself. I've tried it. It's extremely really difficult.
Very hard.
So I have to give him credit for doing that right off. Right off on the stage. But this guy has been like, this is the problem. I feel like this guy is a smart guy. He's made hundreds of millions or whatever doing a tech startup and all that. Like, he's not a dumb guy. I wrote a book 2 years ago where he basically, laid out his thoughts about, politics and climate change and so on and so forth. And he says a whole bunch of those things in his book. And now, like 2 years later, he's running for nomination. And you can see how cynical it is. He's basically reversed all his stands. Like, he's saying climate change is a hoax and like Donald Trump should be pardoned and everything he said, the exact opposite, just to gain votes. So that's kind of my thing to you, is that how do you feel about the situation where somebody does something like that, where they, it's kind of like this is the new reality where people just can do whatever it takes to get the vote.
There's a lot of thoughts on that. First of all, I think we penalize, although it seems to be changing, I think we penalize people too much for changing their minds. I don't want a politician who never changes his mind because, given new data, given new information, you should change your mind, right? We shouldn't feel stuck that, I said this, now I can't. I don't want to be seen as a flip-flopper. Like, that's always been an issue.
Right.
So on the one hand, I do think that. But on the other hand, I think this is a problem, right? Like politics is really theater. And, it's not that he's necessarily reflecting the views of the majority of the country. What he's doing is he's chosen a point of view that has been shown to kind of galvanize people, that gets people angry. It's just like the news, right? Being very negative. So it's not necessarily it's what we all believe, but it's something that creates enough emotion or anger that it gets people involved.
Well, he's figured out that the best way for him to get to be VP or to potentially win the nomination is that he should be as MAGA as possible.
Yeah.
Because if he can win that part, then he'll worry about the general election later. But it's crazy that's.
Well, Trump showed that, right? He showed. I don't know enough about like the history of the politics, but like I think he was one of the first people to really do that, to really be as divisive.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing for me because you kind of always hold a little bit like people like your own and say, look, you kind of hold him in higher esteem, but he really disappoints, and now he's being made fun of. It actually it hurts a little bit.
Well, you know what? Maybe this is a good thing. It means there's actually less racism.
Yeah.
Like, it's equal opportunity. Even a brown guy can be an idiot.
That's what I'm saying. It's he actually came out and said he doesn't believe, he's never met a white supremacist, just like he's never seen a unicorn. I'm like, give me a break.
I mean, I guess he's never met one. But
doesn't believe they exist.
Wow.
I'm not saying like it's that common, but you can't say that it doesn't exist. I think it's nonsense. But anyways, well, let's watch for that. What happens
So
with that?
actually, I'm curious because I haven't followed him that closely. So does he identify publicly as a Hindu?
Yes, which is incredible. But this guy is able to do that, and so he might even win, or he's now I think second or third in nomination, and he's going to have to win over all those Christian evangelicals. And how will he do that?
I mean, there's good precedent. You've got Rishi Sunak in the UK, I forget the guy now, the guy in Scotland.
Yeah, I don't remember
Right.
his name, but exactly. We have a lot
So
of people
there's
of Indian
precedent.
descent
I don't
now.
know. Maybe he can win.
And we got Nikki Haley who's running. We got we got so many people of Indian descent now. So maybe we're just good at that.
But nothing on the Democratic side, really. Well,
Oh yeah, you
Kamala.
have Kamala Harris. Yeah, there you go.
She kind of disappeared.
Let's see what happens. So we'll keep everybody up to watch. But I think this is kind of interesting, where we have like basically a mini Trump now, who's kind of in the wings.
So do you think? Okay, what about DeSantis? He was considered a mini Trump, and that he was going to be a real challenger. But somehow he's just imploded.
He's falling. The thing is that you can do whatever policies you want, but you have to have some type of charisma.
Fair enough.
And they show that
because he can't rap. He can't.
No, he just seems so weird. He comes in like with his, socks all the way up, but like it just doesn't look right. So there's a certain something that Trump has, and apparently this guy Vivek Ramaswamy has something that he's that kind of smart alecky, fast talking kid with white teeth. Like he has something. So it doesn't matter what type of bullshit he says. He's going to get votes.
Honestly, with his name, with being as a Hindu in the MAGA sphere of things, like it is impressive that he's been able to do that.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see what happens with that. The next thing, this whole thing, the whole world seems to be blowing up with regards to climate change, and hurricanes heading right now in Florida, which we expected. It's that time of year, but
okay. Florida's always getting hit. Although last year, so I have a property down there. It was totally flooded. Like we had 10 inches of water.
Yeah.
So we're just
we're like that's in Central Florida, right?
Central Florida.
Which is crazy.
That's such a rare occurrence for that to happen.
Yeah, but you see Hawaii almost burning down. They said all these like little, they have, like basically it's all you have these little grasses that are making it super flammable now.
Yeah, so we were in Maui a few years ago, and I remember that area.
Yeah.
So it never made sense to me because basically it was this massive area that had just been turned into a sugarcane farm, like from back in the day.
Right.
And then apparently there was some dispute with the city or with the government. I forget exactly what was happening, but it was just sitting there, like this massive empty field of grass.
Yeah.
Because nobody could figure out what to do with it. And I'm like, well, you could grow other food because food is very expensive in Hawaii. And I think it's really that one I feel is a question of mismanagement.
Well, they just said the electrical utility took responsibility for one of their poles falling down, lighting the fire.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's a huge amount of responsibility. But then just the fact that you had all this dry grass, one day something's going to happen.
And this is all because what's happening is that it's just they've burnt down whatever has been burnt down before. The grass has come back. I think this is an invasive species. There's not something that's necessarily local to their environment. What's happened is now it's being replaced by this highly flammable kind of vegetation. So it's definitely.
Yeah, I don't understand Hawaii's whole agricultural thing. It feels like bad government management or something.
But then we have now we have what is it? The White Horse burning up.
Yeah, wildfires.
We have everywhere. BC, Alberta.
Record temperatures again in Europe this summer.
Yeah, I think this is. I hate to again. We talked about it last time too. That it just seems more though. That's what I feel.
So when do you think we'll actually respond? Right now, there's we're solar energy, electric car. We're doing a little bit here and there, but we're not really no one's really.
I think you need to take it. Okay, even this city in Hawaii went out and burnt down. It's not enough.
It's not enough.
You have to almost take out a big city. You have to take out like a Miami or like a Houston.
But do you think?
Which almost happened. Houston happened a couple years ago.
Will it actually change anything? Will we actually say, oh my God, okay, we really have to?
I think it's got to hurt people. It's got to hurt right now. The rich and the people who are powerful. It doesn't really impact them. You can get by. You're not really impacted. But if you're planes are not working anymore because there's so much smog in the sky. I think that's when people.
That's really late in the game, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I think what's gonna end up happening is that we're gonna keep going like this, and then in 10 years it's gonna become out of control. But it's gonna be we're just fighting these fires type of thing.
We're going to spend way more money. It's just like the pandemic. I don't know how many hundreds or trillions of dollars the world spent on this.
Yeah.
Whereas had we prepared for a pandemic earlier, it wouldn't have been cost anything. I don't know. I was thinking about it this morning.
But isn't that our human nature?
It is, yeah.
Maybe that's just how it has to be. We can't expect people to do things proactively when most people don't do stuff proactively in their life anyways. How many people
That's a good point. But we do some things proactively.
Right.
I floss my teeth. I hate flossing my teeth, but I do it.
I'm using a sonic toothbrush now.
But
and a water pick.
So it's a matter of I don't know, like you must have insurance.
Yeah, but almost
proactive.
being forced to have insurance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we do some things proactively, but you're right. For the most part, we just wait.
We wait for it till like it really hit us in the ass, bite us in the ass, and then we do something. And I suspect that's what's going to happen, because it's not even one person acting. It's like you need like 100 million people to act.
Really, yeah, really.
You need a significant number of people to like say, okay, this is it. We're going to do something. So all the people have to coordinate and agree, and some people get hurt, some people don't get hurt. There's some sacrifice to be made. It's uneven.
So I'm going to come back to China.
Yeah,
I'm not.
You're not done.
I'm not done with. Like, I still think we're underestimating China in a lot of ways. So their economy is there's a lot of big red flags these days about the Chinese
isn't
economy.
there? Like they're getting old really quickly. You were said about Japan, but they said China's getting old super fast.
So okay, there's demographic issue, but the thing I want to talk about is, all this stuff with their property developers and whatever. Mm-hmm. I believe that they're actually really smart. I think they're going to take some of this short-term pain and hit to their economy for the long-term gain. I think what they're actually doing is, they're trying to engineer a deleveraging, because they really leveraged up high over the last 20 years to boost all their economic growth. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And I think you can only really get away with that when you have a central government. Like, can you imagine the US or Canada saying, you know what, hey guys, the next 4 years are going to suck, but don't worry, it'll be good after that.
You'll never get elected again.
Right? And so,
exactly.
Coming back to human nature, right?
Yeah.
I think it becomes difficult in certain environments as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Do you think that humans are the ones that should be making these type of decisions, or do you think like an AI could do a better job? Because how can one brain, like let's say one person, have that much ability to steer people? Like, we have a lot of these authoritarian. It looks like people want this. People want that one person to tell them what to do. It's like that's
so. I
the
think
world is moving that way.
Yeah.
We have all these authoritarian leaders like Modi and here and we have Trump and we have China. We have.
I don't know if we want someone to tell us what to do. We want someone to just deal with all that stuff so we can get back to doing our little daily stuff. like honestly, I mean, how much do you want to really think about what economic policies should be put in place? And you just want, someone in the government should just figure that out and do the right thing.
But why do people like one person to do that? Like the cult. It's like this cult of like, okay, one person is going to do better.
Right.
Because I guess maybe they're more decisive.
Yeah.
They're not going to wishy-washy. It's like, okay, this is the way.
Sometimes a bad decision done quickly is sometimes better than just waiting, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so one thing about Vivek Ramaswamy, he's been saying and same with Trump, that he said, okay, if they were president, they would solve the Ukraine problem in 24 hours. Which he said he was basically give it to Putin. That's their answer.
That's the easiest way to solve it.
That's their answer. Which brings us to Putin and what happened with Prigozhin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would love hear your thoughts about what would take away from that. Like, we have a guy who just goes against, wants to do rebellion against Putin.
I mean, this is not a surprise at all. I think after that rebellion, and it was whatever you want to call it, as soon as that stopped, you kind of knew he was a dead man walking.
But he was like walking around like he didn't even think of anything. That's what's so surprising.
I don't know how he didn't think he was. He must have known he was dead. Like, to get on a plane after that is pretty gutsy.
This was his own plane.
Yeah.
This is his own plane. And all his guys were with him too. It's not even him.
Yeah.
Like, so I find that he underestimated. But what I think it speaks to is that type of society where, like, no one's safe.
There's no law.
There's no safe. You're not safe by the rule of law. There's no rule of law.
I even forgot the guy's name now. The opposition guy to.
Oh yeah,
Putin.
Put in jail.
Yeah.
Which guy? Yeah.
Well, where is he? he must be dead, right?
Yeah. I think it's crazy when you see these, like, again, I think it's just a marriage of convenience. These Republicans or people on the right saying, "Oh yeah, we love Putin's doing a good job," or "He's great," but like this is a totally different way of thinking or being than what we are here in our countries, like America, Canada, UK, and all that, like Western democracies. It's very different. The fact that they could just do something like that and not face any repercussions.
But I think that is the way that, like, that's sort of, if you don't have strong checks and balances, that's what'll happen. Like, even Trump was trying to basically take over the judicial system. Mm-hmm. I think once you control the judicial system, you control the enforcement, whether it's police or the army. Like, who can stop you?
Yeah, and I know this is people want to. I hate to say this is the most important election of all time, especially in the U.S. But the one coming up will be that case, especially if Trump is running, because that person will, if it's Trump, he'll be able to just disband the judicial system and do with all these cases, and there'll be nothing to stop them.
There'll be nothing to solve it. So what happens? I mean, let's just play it out. Okay, so he wins. He's whatever, pardoned for all his crimes.
Yeah,
or,
he just disbands that judicial system, and he's president for life.
no,
That's what he's wanted to. He said,
but that's impossible.
He said,
there's no way the American people would accept that for life. I was like 4 years he's going to get.
No, I mean the only thing that would kill him is it's death, like natural.
But even Republicans wouldn't go for that. You think that's a possibility?
Power's power. They're doing it agreeing now, but let's see what happens. I mean, that's
Because that's a fundamental change to the Constitution.
If he's
to
already-
the spirit of the Constitution.
already being thrown out. Like if he was not convicted for overthrowing, trying to overthrow the election, then the Constitution doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can throw out the whole Constitution based on that, but
He said he would want to he wanted to overthrow the Constitution, but one other thing that I knew we were talking about climate change and this North Atlantic Gulf Stream. This is one of those things where it's one of those other things you don't hear about too much, but they were saying it's weakening. So I don't know if our viewers know much about it, but basically this Gulf Stream is what feeds all this warm water right up to Greenland, and basically gives that warm climate to Newfoundland and the UK and so on. And so if that's weakening, because those glaciers are melting from Greenland, and if that conveyor belt starts to weaken, then we're in for a major climate change, and it could even be an ice age.
isn't this what Al Gore's film was about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he did mention that in there.
Where Europe would freeze over, basically.
Exactly. That's a pretty.
But it doesn't seem to be what's happening. They're getting really hot temperatures.
Yeah. So right now we're in global warming. So this is a real weird experiment where we have global warming happening at the same time as this Gulf Stream is going to be the glaciers melting and the Gulf Stream is weakening. But it could be that you have a very hot in the middle and really cold polar.
Yeah.
I don't know what the modeling looks like on this, but
I don't think anyone knows. It's such a complicated
it's
system.
not an easy system. But I want to just bring that part up.
Yeah, climate change. It's a very depressing topic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking up here. What do we have here on our list here of stuff that's we just want to quickly chat about. Here we are. One interesting thing that came out. We haven't talked a little bit about RFK Kennedy Jr. Any thoughts on him? Are you just?
He's there.
Yeah.
But I don't really hear that much about
Yeah,
him.
he was going through a little bit of a high point maybe a couple of weeks ago. He was on all the talk shows and so on and so forth. But this guy's like a prominent anti-vaxxer. But the thing is that he's a Kennedy.
Oh yeah, no, he's
So
a
that's
huge
like
profile.
just got the name recognition. And so he could become like a spoiler or cause some type of issue. What's happening is that people on the right are actually courting him because they're actually like trying to get him bring up his thing so he can in effect somehow bring over some Democrats over to the to the Republicans, or let's say he's on an independent ticket or something. It could be a lot of problem, but it's an interesting thing that one could use their name in that way.
The political names come up once in a while. I think we've seen that happen in Canada too.
Yeah, exactly. Mask mandate. What do you think? Do you think it's going to come back? Someone was telling me that this could be coming back here.
Okay, when you're saying mandate, like where we're required by law to wear it?
Yeah, I think like in malls or like airports and stuff like that.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but is there any proof that it worked?
Don't you think people got less colds?
It makes sense that it should work,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't know, did it?
Yeah, I mean, it probably helped with reducing transmission because I think there were less colds. Like for example,
Actually, yeah, you would see that in your practice.
yeah, I
right?
do feel there was probably less colds because all these people were wearing masks. But is that the way to live? Like that's the feel. Like, are we gonna go around now wearing masks in public places, and you know, I don't know if I want to live like that. I feel like that's.
It seems very sterile.
Yeah, this is why we're going back to Japan, where people are still wearing some people are still wearing masks.
But you know, the Asian countries wore masks long before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, they're wearing from like SARS times. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess from SARS. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just say like that. Only.
Are you afraid that it would become part of the culture?
I think it's. Yeah, I mean, luckily, I was always saying beforehand that people would just live with masks and get used to masks over here. But luckily, people just got rid of them. But if we start mandating, start making it regular, then
I hope they don't mandate it.
It becomes part of the style. Like, hey, it's okay to wear a mask, and you know, then I just feel it just puts another barrier between people.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like talking barrier.
And you can't tell how good looking someone is.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, you're right. I hope it doesn't come back. I think it's okay though. If some people want to wear masks, I don't really have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be happy if there's a mandate.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, maybe there's people who, you know, they can save money. Like ultimately, let's say if the government, like if less people are sick, that's even common cold and flus and so on, COVID. That's saving the system money because they're not going to the doctor, they're more at work, and like they're able to shop more. And you know, I'm just trying to say this is where is this economic reasons.
But what are the hidden costs of that too? Then, like, do people then have weakened immune systems? So when they do get sick, it's much worse. Yeah. Like we don't know. I mean, that's a funny experiment.
Yeah, it's funny. But I'm wondering if that's what's the reasoning that's going into why they don't want this virus. Like, you know, people are getting COVID these days. Yeah. And yeah, they are sick for a couple of days. But is this why they're thinking if they don't want to bring the mask back? Like they want to bring the mask back because they don't want people to get sick.
You know, it's
not going to cause death.
It's a simple solution, but no one's thinking about the long-term impact of that.
Yeah.
Right? No one's willing to do the harder solutions. You know, why don't we just have better ventilation in the buildings? Mm-hmm. Right? If you're outside, you're very unlikely to catch something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know how I see people still. I was crazy in Japan, 35 degrees, people wearing a mask.
Wow.
It's just nuts.
But yes, I think ventilation would be better.
Yeah.
A better solution. It's more expensive.
Yeah.
But it solves a lot of other problems as well, not just transmission. You know, people have better energy. You have less long-term impact from breathing indoor air. Like.
Yeah.
So.
I know you wrote an article on Medium, so if anybody hasn't check out
my article
on Medium. But it was about your daughter going to university. And,
yeah, it was an emotional weekend. We dropped my daughter off to university. She's starting first year, and so yeah, in my article I talk about this. But I've been preparing for this from the day she was born, more or less. That I knew that you know, this beautiful daughter of mine was one day going to leave, and that was actually my goal. My goal was to help her to become an independent individual and make her way in the world. I wouldn't want her to always be dependent on me. Mm-hmm. But it was sad. It was really sad that era ended, or is ending. I mean, it doesn't, you know, it's all gradual, but this was sort of a step change in that she no longer lives at home. And, you know, I think I was surprised myself how many emotions came up. But again, like I said in the article, like I've decided I'm going to lean into that a bit. Like I'm okay feeling sad. There's so much nostalgia. Oh my God! Like I keep thinking about all those memories of from when she was little.
Yeah.
And just.
It struck me when you wrote that you spent you've seen her. You spent now your 80 or 90% of the time you're going to spend with her has already happened. That's
stat.
That's stat. Because I did one of those things where I on a spreadsheet I wrote down how many times am I going to see my kid or whatever. And you're right, you front load it, so front loaded.
So front loaded.
And then it just becomes like once a week or once every month or whatever. The remaining years is very much less.
Like you think about those first few years, you're literally spending every waking hour pretty much with them.
Yeah.
And then it gets less and less. And now, but that curve, like 90% of that surface is gone.
Yeah. So that's, yes.
And even, you think about your own parents, like how much time
do you spend with them?
Like, you meet them once a week for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Like it's.
So what type of what type of advice did you give to her? Or would you give to her if you didn't have a chance?
No, I gave her some advice. I mean, I've been telling her my thoughts, for the last 18 years. But what I told her now was, I said, you know what, this is your time to explore. Go try new things, make new friends, find your tribe. Mm-hmm. I said, make noise. There's no point just doing things quietly out there. Mm-hmm. that was it. I didn't want her to hold back. And, you know, I don't, you know, my wife keeps calling her and texting her.
Oh.
And I said, you know, maybe just lay off. I don't want to give her any guilt that she has to, you know, oh, my parents are feeling bad, so I have to do this. I just want her to go and really explore the world and do what she wants to do.
What would you do? Like, what would you do different? Was that what you would do different if you went? Or that's what you would do if you'd go to university today?
I think I did do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know could I have done more of it, maybe. There were probably some times I held back for various reasons, but I don't know if I would do a lot different. For me, honestly, the undergrad years were so much fun. Like, I felt like I learned a lot about myself and really got a chance to explore things.
Trip to Europe? What do you think? Like, for like kids, like, you know, university kids, and doing a backpacking trip, or like, what do you think?
I think that's good if they want to do it. I don't think it's necessary. I wrote an article on travel as well.
I haven't seen it yet. I've read that.
But yeah, I think, you know, travel for me is really more of you know, fine, you go see some churches, you go see some old castles, like whatever, right? But unless, like, to me, it's more of a venue for something else. So, you know, for young kids to travel, it's exploring their own, you know, what's the word, like freedom and their ability to do things in the world and to move around safely and, you know, solve problems. I think from that point of view, it's really good.
Yeah.
My kids have traveled a lot,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that's something.
Make a difference.
Yeah, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the best things right now are, you know, join clubs, meet people, I don't know, get a job. Like those are the things to do.
Oh, so you would recommend getting a job?
I have recommended it. She's not buying into it yet.
Oh.
She wants to focus on her, you know, it's her first year.
Do you have an allowance?
Yeah.
Okay. Like it's a fixed amount.
Yeah, I started fixed allowance, it was a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Just to give her an idea of budgeting and, you know, like what to save for, where to splurge, so she can start making some of those her own decisions. We also, you know, made her responsible for a lot of her own expenses.
And did she go over budget, or she was always within budget?
You know, she was generally pretty good. There were a couple of months where she might have gone a little bit over, but
That's pretty good.
yeah. So again, you know, it was part of my thing. I wanted her to become independent and to be smart about how she manages herself.
Right.
So, you know, I think she's there. I think she's got all the ingredients and all that. But
Yeah,
man, I really miss it. Like, you know, as a parent, I don't know. It's crazy. It's only, you know, you're a parent for. I mean, you're always a parent, but you really are parenting them for such a short time. But
Yeah.
it becomes part of your identity.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
So so you know, for me now, it's like, okay, you know, my son's still here, and I've got another year with him before he leaves. But I have to start transitioning into a new identity for myself. Still a parent, but that's no longer such a primary role.
Well, you're a guy with a mic.
I've got a mic now.
All right, everyone. I hope that was enjoyable, and we'll catch up with you guys next week. And if there's any comments, please post them. Subscribe to the channel. Like us on Instagram. That'd be great. Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.